Hey there, welcome to today's episode. It's going to be a live unedited session. Don't get too excited, I've got a bunch of gear out on the desk, but actually, as the title suggests, this is just a chat about gear. I've just got a couple of things open. The main thing I'm doing here is I'm just trying to test some new software to see how stable it is by going back to a multi-cam setup, because I used to do more YouTube videos where I had two cameras set up, one obviously in the top right hand corner so you can kind of see my face, which I don't think is ultimately that important, but it's kind of nice when you're doing live streams. It feels just a little bit more personal when you've got these things going. So I'm recording using this Meld Studio, which is another free bit of software. I'm not affiliated or anything like that. I'm just trying it as an alternative to OBS. I know it's got a couple of problems. The camera where you can see my face is my continuity camera going into my Mac, which works really well. I think that's 60 frames per second. It seems pretty stable. The main desktop view needs to come from a third party, which is another iPhone. I use two iPhones to record. But unfortunately, there's a little thing with between the two developers here where something's gone slightly amiss, and the third-party plugin is being recognized as 30 frames only, even though it isn't. It's technically 60 frames for the desktop. So it's going to look a little bit jittery. Doesn't matter. In the next week or so, I'm actually swapping out my old iMac from 2015 to a new Mac Mini. I'm going to go that route instead. Get a separate monitor. It's about time I had an update. As I said, 2015, that's 9 years old. It's been an excellent iMac, and if all I had to do was make music on it, I would 100% just keep that and use it forevermore, because it runs Ableton 12 perfectly. It's got like, I don't know, an i7 4 gigahertz processor. It was the flagship of its time. I think it's got a 3 terabyte Fusion drive in there. It cost a small fortune when I bought it back in 2015. Anyway, neither here nor there. It is getting swapped out for something newer. So this part of the video, and the reason the layout is like this, is just so that we've got something visual and I can kind of test this as I make the video. This won't be in 4K. It's being recorded at 1080p, I'm pretty sure. The purpose of this video is to talk about gear, as the title suggests. So if you're looking for a demo, you're looking to be doing some beat making, that kind of thing, it's not going to be that. I just want to talk openly and honestly about gear, because I think there's a couple of things that have been on my mind lately, and some things that don't necessarily get spoken about that often as far as like gear acquisition syndrome goes. This isn't all about the gas either. I mean, obviously, I suffer a little bit from that, and it always sounds hilarious, doesn't it, when you say you suffer from gas? It does sound like you're a very farty kind of individual. If I'm looking at things on a very base childhood level, which I am kind of a big kid, but it is true, we do suffer from this idea of, needing a bunch of gear. So I thought we could do a little video just chatting about that. I want to start by just pointing out a few things about my channel, only because I've had a couple of comments, and it was after I bought the Ableton Move. I don't get a lot of negativity, and these weren't really particularly that negative, but I think some people were under the impression that the Ableton Move was given to me, perhaps, or I was told to say certain things about it. I'm not sure why you got that impression, because I very clearly stated, and I think the very first video I made about the Ableton Move, that I bought it with my own money. That is 100% the truth. I've got no affiliation to Ableton. I've only ever had one affiliation, and that was to Polyend, for the Polyend Tracker Plus. I reached out to them. I really wanted to try the Tracker Plus. I wanted to know if you could do hip-hop stuff on it, which you can, and we're not getting into that. This isn't a promo for the Tracker Plus. But that's the only time where I reached out to a company. They sent me the device in exchange for just making content about the device, but I didn't have to say anything. They didn't give me a script. They didn't say anything. They didn't give me a video count or anything. They just sent me the device and were like, yeah, sure, review it and see what you think of it, which is very cool of Polyend. So shout out to Polyend. But that's the only time. Every other piece of gear that's in my studio, I bought with my own money, the Ableton Move included. The only reason I bring that up is because I think this is where we're at now, isn't it, with YouTube? We've got these creators, these YouTubers, myself included, and I'm just a small fish. I understand that. I've got no... what's the word I'm looking for? There's an expression, but it's gone completely out of my head. But I'm under no illusion that I'm some big YouTuber or any great influencer. I do think off the back of certain things, I know plenty of people have reached out to me and said they bought Koala Sampler. Even the Ableton Move, a few people have said after my videos they felt like they were sold on the device, they want to buy one. But I get nothing for that. And that's not a thing of me saying I want something for it. It's just me being honest about how all of this operates. So yeah, I get nothing. I've got no affiliate links. Every time an Ableton Move gets sold, I don't get some kind of cash in my hand. And if somebody offered me that, if I'm being truly honest, yeah, who doesn't want extra money in their bank account each month? Someone said to me they'll give me affiliate links, and I could have reached out to Ableton perhaps and said, can I have affiliate links or do something like that? But I just don't really, I like things to kind of go naturally. The Polyend one was just, I was so curious about the device, and if I'm being truly honest, with being such a small YouTuber, I never thought that they would send me one in a million years. But again, shout out to Polyend for doing that. I thought it was pretty cool. So I get nothing. I don't care if you buy an Ableton Move. I don't care if you buy a Roland SP, Koala Sampler, the MPCs that I've used, the Polyend Tracker. Truly, I don't care which one you buy. If any, you could choose something completely different. Electron, I've never really kind of had a look at Electron devices. And again, that's not a hint for Electron to send me any. I don't particularly care to, if I'm being honest. I've looked at some of their groove boxes, their samplers. They don't particularly look like something I'm that interested in, if I'm being honest. Teenage Engineering, I've never really had anything good to say about Teenage Engineering. So I'm 100% sure they're not sending me anything free in the mail anytime soon. It's not a personal thing against Teenage Engineering. I just really hated the KO2. I just couldn't stand that thing. Anyway, I make no money from it. So whatever I say, the tutorials that I put out, and that's really all I do. I don't try and give you adverts for anything. The way that I make money through YouTube is through the ad revenue, placing ads, which I've started putting ads in between videos now. I tried to avoid that for a long time, and I still only do it for ads that are like, for videos that are maybe like 20 minutes long plus. Like the longer videos, I feel like I can do that. The reason for that being is that, yeah, you need to make something out of doing YouTube. And if you've started a YouTube channel, you'll be very familiar. You don't make a lot out of ad revenue whatsoever. It's certainly not enough to keep my lights on or get anywhere near my rent in London because I live in a very, expensive part of the world. So those are the little things. And sample packs, again, I make money from sample packs. You guys, I want to say a big thank you to anyone every month. There is a certain amount, but that's not, again, it's not going to pay my bills. And that's not knocking you or saying I should be getting more. It's just being truthful and honest about what I get out of this YouTube channel thing. So yeah, I get some sales. I appreciate that. I could get more sales probably if I did the Instagram ads, YouTube ads. I've never wanted to do any of those. If you look back at any of my videos, I don't really give you the hard sell on anything. The only time I post about the sample packs is when I do a demo video, which I need to create, and I put it onto YouTube because that's how I use it. That is linked to my website. So anyone going to my website goes, oh, I want to see what's in this sample pack. There's a little demo video of me using it. So even there, I don't try and push that. In my videos, I don't say, please buy sample packs, please buy this. I don't say, please subscribe or hit the notification button like every other YouTuber. I feel like we're all adults, and maybe it's just because I'm an older person. I'm not like in my 20s anymore, or younger, or whatever it is. I just don't feel the need to give you the hard sell for anything. I figure you're an adult. On my YouTube channel, there are links underneath my YouTube channel where you can see, hopefully, sample packs, bits and bobs. And every month I do get a certain amount of sales. There's no reason for me to hard sell you on it. I figure if you want to subscribe to the channel, you're going to do that off your own back. Do I need to tell you to subscribe? The reason I mention all of these things, it's not about me personally. It's to come back to the idea of the gear because, yeah, there are some misconceptions. I'm not sure you're a big YouTuber, bigger numbers than myself, of course. You're getting gear sent to you left, right, and center. I don't know really how that works. I don't know how truthful that is. Can they say negative things? I've definitely seen what I think are bigger YouTubers talking about gear and pointing out the flaws of it. Maybe that's not even a thing. I don't know if we need to worry about that so much. But as far as I'm concerned, I just want to get back to this idea of what I do is to just do tutorials, really. And I want to steer my boat a little bit. If I'm being honest, I think someone like Conductor Williams has got a great YouTube channel because he's telling you stuff. He's sharing with you things about the beat making process, but it's not tutorials. It's not, well, press this button and press this button. I always want to do some of that because I get it. It's valuable to people. People enjoy that kind of thing. But I still think ultimately we need to move away from the idea of the gear, or certainly think about gear in a different way, which is kind of the point of this video, but also be looking at the craft. I think what we get caught up in is, oh yeah, there's a new bit of gear. The Ableton Move, of course, is flavor of the month at the moment. Everyone's talking about it, whether it's good or it's bad. And we're looking at the facts and figures. We want to see the tech sheet. We want to know how many tracks, how many, I don't know, what's the RAM like, whatever it is, how many samples can you play at the same time, what's the polyphony, all these things. We're not really talking about how good it is at making music, how good any of these devices are at making music, and also how does it make you feel. Like, that's a big thing that I don't know if I've seen anyone talk about this so far, and that's not like a brag. That's a thing of like, it's just honest. Like, has anyone ever mentioned to you, did you buy your sampler because it makes you feel a certain way? And I think to me, that's super important. A classic example of that would be some of the gear that we've even got here. Koala sampler, arguably, away from Ableton, like Ableton and a mouse and a keyboard, for me, just because I'm such a long-term Ableton user, is probably still the quickest way of making a beat with very little limitation at all, because it's a DAW. It's not a standalone little device where it's going to be limited in some kind of way. So that is still my quickest way of making things if you want to be the absolute quickest workflow. Second in line for me, personally, and it's, again, this is me, is Koala Sampler. I can make beats on that thing all day long very, very quickly. I think because you've got the big iPad, move samples around, do whatever. But does it make it my favorite piece of gear in the studio? It's up there. I love it. I'm always going to use it. But no, it's not my favorite. Picking a favorite is very difficult. But what I'll say about Koala is that I don't really like the touchscreen experience. It's something that happens to you, a lot of people, certainly when you buy your first bit of hardware with pads and encoders, buttons, that there's just something so enticing about that. It feels tactile. It's like it's something that you feel connected to it. Some people don't. Some people will buy a piece of hardware, go right back to the DAW. That's personal. That doesn't make it wrong. And again, we'll touch upon that more as we go through, but that's kind of the point, right? All of this is personal choice. And if you want to have just one sampler and you think it's the king sampler and it does everything and it works for you, then that doesn't make you wrong. That makes it right for you. Someone's going to come along and argue with you, because I can post a video about any of these devices. Someone is going to argue that point. They're going to say, well, why don't you use a MIDI controller with Koala Sampler? I can. I've tried it. I've got that little Temu thing. I can use it with the SP. But I like having, having everything inside of one little box, one little device. There's something charming about that. It's the reason I like the Move. It is a genuine standalone thing. Does it have all the features of all the other samplers? No. But can I make beats on it and can I get along with it? Yes, absolutely. Can somebody else? I mean, Marlo Diggs is a good example of this. I bring him up just because I commented on his post probably just last night. It's what got me thinking about this whole thing, is that it's not the gear, it's the people behind it. I'm pretty sure Marlo Diggs could cook up a good beat on a toaster if he wanted, because he's a great guy and he does that. And the reason I bring him up is because I think he hates the Ableton Move. Or hate maybe might be a strong word. I don't think he's keen on it. His last video was pretty much, I don't think he had a good word to say about it, even though I think his initial video, I think he was hoping it was going to be something, started off quite positive. That doesn't make him wrong. That doesn't make it bad. That makes it his opinion. And sure, there's going to be some people who will go under his influence and maybe not even look at an Ableton Move because of what he says about it. Now, again, I don't think that's wrong. It's just like me saying I love Koala Sampler and somebody maybe buying it off the back of that, but their experience of it might not be the experience that I'm having with it. That's what I'm trying to get to, is that it's just so personal. We can look at spec sheets all we want. We can look at RAM and track numbers, and we can look at everything else. But what we should be looking at is, how does it make you feel? Koala Sampler, as I said, it's fantastic. But I don't like the fact that I have to use the touchscreen. And when I use a separate MIDI controller, I feel disconnected. I don't feel like it's this chunky little standalone box like the SP or the Move, or even my MPC-1, I guess, although that's a little bit bigger. It just doesn't have the same appeal. doesn't mean that you should feel the same way. Doesn't mean that you should be listening to this now and going, oh, actually, yeah, you've got a point there. I think actually Koala Sampler sucks now because you've said that. That would be ridiculous. If you love working just on Koala Sampler on the screen and you make beats and you make music, I couldn't applaud you more for that. Marlo Diggs doesn't care for the Ableton Move. That's up to him. Like that doesn't matter. That's not a thing to be argued with or upset about or a reason to change the opinion. All of these bits of gear generally, and some people might argue against this and say that's not cool, but actually I think that's what consumer rights are for. Most of these bits of gear you can buy and you can test them out. I think Ableton give you 14 days maybe, as long as you return it in the condition that you picked it up in, you haven't scratched it or damaged it or done anything. You can try it out. So try it out and see if you like it. If you don't like it, get rid of it. But with gear at the moment in the community, we seem to be so obsessed on what it can and can't do. And this never-ending competition between one groove box to another, whether you're Koala Sampler, oh, I'm loyal to Koala Sampler. Koala Sampler is fantastic. And the community is so fierce, but the community for all of these little devices is like that. Like, I think I remember posting something about Koala Sampler and saying that the stem separation was better on Logic Pro. But the whole point of that video was that you could use the stem separation from Logic Pro inside of Koala Sampler. That was what I was saying. But because I said something that seemed slightly negative against Koala Sampler, next minute I got a bunch of comments, oh, Koala Sampler's amazing and it does this. And it's like, I don't disagree with you on any level. It's so weird that people take it so personal. And like everything where you point out a device's limitation is taken as something to challenge or to take offense to. And it's really not like that. We currently live in one of the best times for standalone gear because there's just so much choice. So whether it's a Move or Koala or the SP or the MPC, who really cares? Like who cares? And I say that as somebody that makes content for these devices. I'm not trying to turn you off watching my channel. I'm trying to hopefully open your eyes to the fact that there are just bigger things at play here. I've got an MPC-1 and an MPC-1000. And if I have to choose each day when I walk past the shelf and think which one of these would I pick up first, I would pick up the 1000. I can't even describe to you why that is. It's just something personal about the way that it feels, the workflow. I'm not keen on the touchscreen on the MPC. Sure, you can do a lot without having to touch the screen, but you still kind of have to. The MPC 1000, I don't. Maybe that plays a small part into it, but it's not just that. It's what I describe as like a fizz, a feeling that a piece of gear gives you. And nobody really talks about that. You can talk all you want about the spec list and the spec sheets, but what does it make you feel? Do you feel like picking this thing up? If the Move turns you off and it feels cold and it feels sterile, then sell it, get rid of it, don't keep hold of it, don't buy one in the first place. But I will argue that you need to buy some gear, whether it's on a temporary basis and then sell it because it's not for you, or just return it while it's still under warranty, in order to have a valid opinion on that. And I'm not saying other people's opinions aren't valid. We get lots of YouTube comments, lots of really great suggestions. There is a strong community here. But if I'm being honest, I'm sick of the moaning about every piece of gear. A new piece of gear launches and people have to launch into this big attack and this like thing on every single device. And there isn't one that you can say truly does everything that you want. And there's a very clear reason for that. They are all products. Let's not be naive. Let's not forget that they are all products. And if one company, Electron, Akai, Roland, Koala Sampler, brings out one product that does everything that you've ever desired in your entire life, you will never buy another product from them ever again. Just keep that in mind. None of these companies are in it to not make money. I'm sure there are passionate people behind the products. I'm not saying that because these things don't come around. Some of what I think are very good devices don't come around without passionate people behind those products. But at the same time, they're never going to fulfill your wildest dreams, because what do they sell you next year or in 3 years' time when the next range of MPCs comes out, or whoever it is? It's not just Akai, it's everyone. They are companies. Anyway, I don't think I need to go too much further into this. I don't want this to be a long-winded rant, and hopefully my tone and attitude here is one of just passion, perhaps, something that I am interested in. I'm not angry. I don't get angry about YouTube and the internet. I'm a grown man. It's very silly to get angry about people's opinions because we've all got them. I just want people to chill on what happens with the gear. Just embrace that there is another kid on the block. You can try it if you like it. It might be the perfect thing for you. It might suck in your opinion. It doesn't mean you're wrong. If you think it's amazing, you're right. If you think it sucks, you're probably right because it's what matters to you. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care, and I'll see you in another one.